Here is a history of the connection between freed Africans or blacks in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. and the Canadian province of British Columbia that many people don't know. Now, this past August 2024, I had the pleasure of being a speaker at the LuV'James Conference in Vancouver, Canada. This conference is an annual event that highlights the Afro pioneers in that region. In researching for this conference, I learned the importance of James Douglas, the first governor of British Columbia in 1858. Now, I didn't know that many people called him Black Douglas because he was the son of an African Creole mother from Barbados and a Scottish father. Now, this genealogical fact means that the person known as the father of British Columbia was black or of African descent. Now, if we go back a few years before, in 1848, the discovery of gold in California to Oregon and into Canada set off a rush of Americans to the West to seek their fortunes, and among them were Africans hoping for greater freedom from what they were experiencing throughout the rest of the United States. However, even though many Western states like California and Oregon outlawed slavery, Africans were still facing increased discrimination through such actions as the Black Exclusion Laws of Oregon. These were laws that actively prevented Africans from settling in a particular region, usually prohibiting them from owning property or living there permanently or even entering the area, essentially creating a whites-only space. The earliest of these laws was in 1844, which required freed Africans to be whipped 39 times every 6 months until they left the state. It was indeed the wild, wild racist West. In 1858, Britain created the colony of British Columbia in response to the Fraser River Gold Rush and concerns about possible annexation to the United States. The new British colony needed bolstering against intruding gold-seeking white Americans, and Governor Douglas was worried about losing territory to the Americans. He needed an army to protect the colony, but didn't have enough people in his colony to create one. So, being of mixed race, Douglas extended a welcome to blacks in the U.S. in exchange for them being able to own businesses, buy property, vote, become citizens, attend schools, and escape America's racial bigotry. He sent Jeremiah Nagel, commander of the Commodore, to California to invite free Africans to migrate north to Canada. And on April 14, 1858, during a meeting at First AME Zion Church in San Francisco under the leadership of Reverend John Jameson Moore, many of their members expressed much interest in Douglas's invitation. And though many of them considered relocating to other places such as Mexico or Panama, they decided to go to British Columbia. And between 35 and 65 persons reportedly left on April 19th and 20th aboard the Commodore to join the latest gold rush. And over time, the word grew that Africans could enjoy freedoms denied to them in the United States. The freed Africans left the states like California and Oregon and were the first and the largest influx of non-British immigrants to the colony. They came from all walks of life and quickly became key players in the city of Victoria. Some were hired as policemen, and the province's first militia was born, the all-black Pioneer Rifles. Nearly 800 free blacks left the oppressive racial conditions of San Francisco for a new life in Vancouver Island. Governor Douglas used his money he earned while working on the Hudson Bay Company to create the Victoria Pioneer Rifle Corps in 1860, otherwise known as the African Rifles, an all-black militia of immigrants. However, 6 years later, the Pioneer Rifles dissolved due to the lack of interest. Many black immigrants returned to the U.S. around this time, following the end of the American Civil War and slavery in 1865. And I want to thank Lincoln Thorne, the artistic director of Fade to Black Entertainment Society in Vancouver, who is keeping this important history alive.